Hi, everyone. Welcome to another exciting edition of Words, Images, and Worlds. Delighted to be peering into the creative pathway of author Rich Davis. I'm assuming that's a ceiling fan making those shadows on the wall and not like all the ideas that are flying around
You know
currently.
what? It is. It's all these ideas running through my mind. Actually, no, it is the ceiling fan, and I forgot to turn it off. So, but it
It
does
works.
look
It totally
cool.
works.
Yeah,
It
I hope it's not
does.
too distracting.
Not at all. Not at all. It is good. We're talking about Angel Hunter here and digging into that a little bit. And we can certainly talk about any projects that you like. Curious about your origin story, how you got into this world of comics and writing in general.
Yeah, well, my background started in film and theater. Um, I was a playwright and a screenwriter, and I wrote a play back in 2013 called, at the time, Dracula Reimagined. Um,
Mhm.
it got a lot of attention, won several North Carolina Theater Awards, and serendipitously, Tony Todd, the late Candyman, was in attendance for a performance one night. And afterward, he stuck around and said, Rich, you got to do something with this. It's good. You can't let it go. And so I thought I was going to turn it into an independent film. Tony was very supportive of that. And that didn't work out. So we decided, a screenplay and a comic book script are fairly similar. So
Mhm.
we turned Dracula Reimagined into a comic book script, and it became Cult of Dracula, which absolutely exploded. Became a top 50 best-selling comic of 2021,
Mhm.
and it really launched my career in comic books. And now, Angel Hunter will be my fifth comic book series that'll hit comic book stores all over the world later this year.
Love it. Love it. Yeah, that love the connections between film, media, comics. Love that. And I also love the supernatural as part of storytelling. So it sounds like that's certainly something that you're drawn to.
Oh, definitely. I'm a horror kid. I've loved horror my entire life. I'm very easily scared because I want to be scared. Like when I was a little kid, I vividly remember my parents had this big black leather couch in the TV room, and I would hide behind it watching Scooby-Doo and like peek my little head out and get all scared. And mom would come in and say, "I'm never going to let you watch this again." I'm like, "Oh, please, please, mom, I won't be scared. I promise." And of course, I was super scared every single
Of
time,
course.
and I loved it. I Nothing gives me that adrenaline rush. Sorry, I have to pet my dog here. Nothing gives me
Go for
that adrenaline rush like being scared. I just some people get it from jumping out of airplanes, some people get it from, collecting toys, but what I get that adrenaline rush from horror. And so
it.
I really enjoy writing it. Um, and I've done pretty well with it. I've been well received in the horror comics community,
Yeah.
especially the independents. I'm certainly not a Cullen Bunn or Grant Morrison, Alan Moore, anybody like that, but maybe one day.
Yeah, the thing with writing horror that I've been told in comics is that it's challenging. There are certain challenges, and you have to employ certain tools. If you found that to be the case as you go about scripting.
Absolutely. I was in attendance for a lecture that Stephen King did at a college nearby in North Carolina. And one of the things I clearly remember, it stuck with me. He said, if you want to write effective horror, you have to write about the things that scare you. So I find the most difficult, but also the most rewarding part of what I do is facing my own fears, facing the things that terrify me. That's why I say that my books are from my nightmares. That's
Mm.
exactly what they are. Since I was a teenager, I've always had really, really vivid nightmares. Terrible. Like I'm awake in the dreams, and I'll wake up, and the dream is still happening in the room around me. It's intense. So the only way that I was able to cope with that growing up was I kept a notebook by my bed, and I would wake up and I would write them down. And it was kind of that thing, once you name the monster is not frightening anymore. And so a lot of these nightmares have made their way into my books, and I'm sure more nightmares are going to make it into more books. And I don't think I'm ever going to stop being scared. So hopefully that means I won't run out of ideas for scary stories.
Yeah. I usually like to ask about process as well. So it sounds like you have a notebook handy, which I'm a big fan of.
Oh yeah, you got to keep those ideas down somewhere. I mean, and it definitely beats scribbling a script down on a cocktail napkin.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, you've worked in the industry. You've already mentioned Tony Todd, which is quite a voice. Uh, any particular folks that you've had positive experiences collaborating with or that have been supportive of the journey like that?
Very, very many. One thing that I was very surprised and grateful to learn is the comic book community, at least in my experience, has been absolutely wonderful and welcoming and supportive. It's a really cool group of people that genuinely want to help other people succeed. I have
Hmm.
run into very, very, very few prima donnas. There have been a few, but most of the people, and I mean, probably 9 out of 10 people, legitimately have been very helpful. Shannon Mayer was wonderful. He did the covers for all 6 issues of Cult of Dracula. Georges Genti, dear friend of mine, he's working on everything Star Wars right now. I met him when he was doing Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Camden Toy, also a late friend of mine, who was the Uber Vamp and the gentleman, one of the gentlemen on Hush for Buffy the Vampire Slayer, was very, very supportive. Joe Pruitt, formerly of Aftershock Comics. I really have this. I could sit here and list a million people who have helped me at one point or another along the way, and I'm very proud to still be in that community and to be able to pay it forward. That's why when people reach out to me, I always try to take the time to listen to their question, offer them the advice I can. Sometimes it takes me a little while to get back to them, but I always do it because I think it would be a disservice to those people who were so kind and generous to me if I were to blow somebody off. So put that good karma out there, and it will definitely come back to you.
Absolutely, absolutely. And as you're mentioning these names and individuals, I'm just thinking about how so often people think of comics and they think Marvel, DC, superhero, maybe some adventure, but comics are a really vibrant space for horror, and they have been for decades.
Oh yeah.
So it's kind of this cool area that you get to explore.
Yeah, people forget that for the longest time, horror and science fiction comics outsold superheroes 5-1. This
Hmm.
was pre-Comics Code Authority. The Comics Code Authority really wiped out all the genre comics, but then they started coming back. Made a little bit of a comeback in the 70s. 80s really hit it hard. 90s, it just kept going. And now today, genre comics, they're getting back to the point where they're more popular than superheroes again. Superhero
Hmm.
comics are losing ground to manga very drastically, but genre comics, horror in particular, horror and fantasy, are very, very rapidly growing, and they have very devoted fan bases.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, curious, of course, about the project that we're talking about. Uh, any particular background that you'd like to mention about Angel Hunter, or anything that you'd like to mention as far as what you hope readers take from it?
Yeah, so Angel Hunter is my it's my first foray into the world of fantasy. It's a dark fantasy, so there are a lot of horror elements involved in it. I couldn't get completely away from my foundation. I can go a little ways away from the tree, but I can't get out from under the branches. It is it's a book about humanity's first strides after being expelled from Eden, and they've got to claw out an existence in a world dominated by the 13 fallen angels and an army of kaiju Nephilim. So it's a pretty intense story. We draw inspiration from angelic mythologies from various cultures, not just Christianity, Judaism, Islam, angels, watchers, those types of creatures are they're featured in a lot of mythological texts. So we pull from a lot of those. It's been a really rad story to write, man. It really has. The more I dive into, especially the apocryphal texts and the Islamic texts about angels, man, angels were they were terrible in
Yeah.
these mythologies, man. They hated humans, and so comparing and contrasting that with our modern idea of the guardian angels and the cute little cherubim and things like that, it was really rad to go down and learn about those different things and shape that into a story. That I think audiences are really going to resonate with. I really do think the more lesson I work on this book, the more and more convinced I am this is special. I have the same feeling about this book that I had about Cult of Dracula. It's just I think we've really got something here. It's ambitious. We project it out as 10 volumes. And we're not doing floppy issues. We're doing more manga style um, collected editions. Each book, the shortest book is the first one, and it's 96 pages. Um, the
Mhm.
the remaining the remaining volumes are all going to be right around 120 pages. So this book, when it's all done, is going to be well over 1,000 story pages.
Um,
So yeah, we're very, very excited about where this is going to go. Um, so that's why we really need people to support us right out of the gate with this Kickstarter because, I mean, the book's done. It's written. Les has completed the art. It's lettered. We're sending it off to the printer. So it's getting made. So, a lot of people when they back at Kickstarter, they get a little nervous, like, oh, is the book actually going to get published? Are they going to ship it to me? Are they going to fulfill this? Well, you can rest assured it is. Whether you back it or not, the book is getting made because it's going to comic book stores later in the year.
mhm.
So we're just doing this Kickstarter thing because, frankly, it's about the only way you can make a profit in the comic book industry is to go to crowdfunding first. The old publisher distributor market, it's just you get cachet, you get your name out there because you're in stores. I mean, it's cool to walk into a Barnes and Noble and say, "Hey, there's my book." Or I walked through a
Mhm.
Target one time and like, "Holy crap, there's Cult of Dracula on the shelf in Target." That's really
Yeah.
cool. But it doesn't always equate to revenue for the creator, especially for the writer, because unfortunately, the writer is the last person to get paid. The artist, the illustrator always gets paid. The colorist always gets paid. The letterer always gets paid. The cover artist always gets paid. The writer, I'm still waiting to get paid for a book that came out a year and a half ago, because that's how long it takes for a writer to get paid. And it's going to take me probably 3, maybe 4 years just to recoup my initial investment to create the book before I start making a profit. And that's really through trade paperback sales. Trades are where you really start to generate some revenue. So the writer is the last person to get paid if they get paid at all, unless you go the crowdfunding route. Because Les and I are doing this. This is a co-creation. Les Garner is the illustrator. I'm the writer creator. We built this book together. We're going to share in the rewards together, and I think I think really that's the way the comic book world has to go. At least the independent comic book world. Marvel and DC, they've got backing by international multi-billion-dollar conglomerates. Sadly, I don't have Elon Musk on speed dial. You know,
Right. Right.
so I probably wouldn't call him right now if I did. The guy's kind of
Yeah.
crazy,
Yeah.
chainsaw and stuff. But so for the indie comic community, the genre comic community, small press, I really do. I think it's crowdfunding and direct market distribution is going to be the future. So I hope we catch that wave at the right time with Angel Hunter.
Yeah. Well, I know the Kickstarter link will be included with this where people can go and check it out. Any other spaces where people might want to go to find out about your work, to support, or meet in person or anything like that, conventions and other such things?
Absolutely. Yeah. So you can find me on all the social medias. It's just at Rich Davis. You can also go to the Angel Hunter. We have our own Angel Hunter page just for updates about Angel Hunter. I also maintain my World of Dracula social media page, which is kind of all encompassing for all of my books. It's just at World of Dracula. Angel Hunter is at Angel Dash Hunter. And then, of course, I'm just at Rich Davis. You can find me on that. I think I'm doing 10 conventions this year. I just got back from MegaCon. I believe my next one is C2E2 in Chicago. I know I'm doing Heroes Con in Charlotte, Dragon Con in Atlanta, New York Comic Con, obviously in New York, and there's a couple of others scattered in there, but those are the big ones I'm doing this year. I usually do 8 to 10 conventions a year, so you can find me in Artist Alley at most of those conventions, Fan Expo and Reed Pop shows. I do a lot of those.
Well, you had my interest at Kaiju Nephilim. That's
Yes.
definitely something I want to see for sure. Um, so glad to support the work, glad to share about it. Did we miss anything that you want to make sure to mention? Any questions that we didn't cover?
Um, we didn't really touch on the manga inspiration of
Hmm.
it all that much. So Angel Hunter is a seinen manga inspired story told in the American comic book style. I've really become a fan of anime and subsequently manga over the past year or two. Frankly, I got bored with comics, especially superhero
Hmm.
comics. It's there are a lot of them, or they're the same 13 stories, just recycled with different colored costumes. Nothing matters. There's no stakes. No, if somebody dies, I mean, they killed Ms. Marvel last year, and literally the week the book that she died in came out, there was the solicit for the next issue in the previews catalog saying the return of Ms. Marvel, and it's like,
Hmm.
come on, man, nothing matters. But now
Right.
when I discovered anime and manga, the stakes are real. When they die, they're dead. They're Uncle Ben dead, and they don't come back. Things
Yeah.
matter in those stories, and I really, really got into it. I mean, there's just something special about that style of storytelling, and it like I don't care about any of the superhero characters the way I care about the characters I read in manga or watch in anime.
Hmm.
And storytelling, it's all about the characters. It's you don't. I mean, you read stories, you remember characters, you remember people, and if you can't forge any kind of real connection between the reader and the character, the book falls flat. And I think that's happening a lot to American superhero comics. People are bored. They know nothing matters. They know that this is just going to get retconned in a couple of weeks, or they're going to reboot it and start over again and again and again. And I don't know, man, that doesn't seem to be what a mature readership wants. I mean, as a kid, sure, you don't care. But as you get older and, mature, grow up, you want more complex stories and you want things to matter and you want to feel the pain of that loss. So, taking that element and a lot of other elements from the manga genre, I think it's really it's changed my approach to storytelling in a big way. And I hope that my writing, I hope I can pay respect to manga because I know that's a very important cultural thing to the Japanese, and I would definitely never want to appropriate or insult their culture. I want to respect it and show my appreciation of it, and by playing in this sandbox. And I really do hope that comes across. While this isn't a direct manga. You'll see a lot of manga inspirations in the way the story is structured, the way the art is designed, the way the panels are presented. So kind of bridging the two worlds of things that I am really passionate about at this point in my life. So again, I think Les and I think we've got something really special with Angel Hunter. It just feels right.
Yeah, yeah. Well, excited to see it out in the world, and I'm a regular Heroes Con attender, so
All right.
hopefully I will see you there as well.
You definitely will. I'm booked. I'll be in Artist Alley this year.
Sounds great. Sounds great. Well, Rich, glad to be in touch. It's an open invitation if you ever want to come back to talk about other projects that are coming along, and I will put this together in video and audio and share it back with you.
Much appreciated, my friend. Thank you.